All right, sound checks. What do we got?
Go.
Hello.
You.
Everyone's in the yellow. That's good. All right, so since I still have only, where did it go? One backstory.
Oh, no, sorry.
The GM has to do something this week that he
Was loath.
is loath to do. I have to basically create backstories for you and some scenes
I
today.
have the backstory in my head. I just haven't had
Oh, Matt,
it.
Well,
What do you say
that's
about
great,
it?
except that I don't have it, and this is the week I really needed it.
Backstory.
So you're just going to have to modify your story based on what I tell.
I gave him my backstory.
Sorry.
He took notes on it as I hear
You've
it.
had 4 weeks. You've had a month. Don't give me that look.
I gave him my backstory.
I told you. No, you gave me about 2 paragraphs. You didn't give me as much detail as I said I needed. And no one's
Oh,
given me
shit.
no one's given me contact lists yet.
Oh, I didn't give you my contact list?
You have not.
Okay.
Why you
I'll
look
get
at
it to
it?
you this week.
So if
All right,
you
I'll
could,
write it down and give it to you by
if
hand.
you could, since this is going to be a long-standing campaign, we're going to come back to it often on our off sessions. I do need a list of your contacts that can help me write adventures. I do need a detailed backstory. You are going to have to now modify your backstory, what I tell today, because this is the week I really needed it, as we start seeing the psychological aspects of the horror. So, last session, I said that when we got back to Snakebite, it would be a Sunday. I'm going to back up time a little bit. You will still arrive on a Sunday morning, but there's a couple things I have to have happen before we get there. A week of downtime has gone by. Did everybody get the, excuse me. Did everybody get the message I put up in the Facebook group about the threat system I'm going to start using, the threat knowledge system?
Yep. So you list like the 8 points that you're
Right, and remember, you have a choice. You can guess, and the party can work off the guessing, or you can guess and hand me a drama point. And I probably need to go through in detail how much information I give you per drama point. But right now, it's just any drama point you give me, and I will confirm with 1 to 3 answers: yes, no, or partially. So, like, let's say if you're fighting something that looks like a vampire, and you say to me, does this monster have a vulnerability to garlic like they do in the movies? You hand me the chip and I go, partially. Now you know that something about garlic affects the creature is probably not in the way you're thinking. Or I might say no, or I might say yes. So you need to be very specific in your answers, or very specific in your questions. I feel that's a fair system, especially dealing with a monster that we've not encountered from lore that the players are used to from movies or literature. Although actually, as I did a little more research in my idea, this type of monster does appear in a couple of different legends, and it must have been subconsciously bringing around in the back of my head, but Imanur actually comes from a culture that has a monster like this. There is an Arabic monster like this. I was not aware of it at the time. I think I actually wrote a poem about this thing once, and that's what was crawling on my head, at least one aspect of the critter.
Getting relative to your point about the knowledge system and
Yeah.
being able to infer certain things, you see based on the character background I wrote for the 60-plus-year-old man who's been in this his whole life, how his knowledge base would be completely obliterated mine.
This is also where it would have been helpful to have backstories first. Because if I saw that backstory, I would have encouraged you to change some skill selections on your character.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than start the advantage you did, I would have started you with a grimoire, so that you actually had spells. Because the character you've written basically grew up next to a brujo.
Yes.
All right, so there should be some spells you actually have that now I can't put on your character because the character's done. So what we're going to say is that basically time away, you kind of forgot how to do it.
Yeah, that works.
All right?
Yep.
Now, don't be scared, because in today's adventure, the players get to see spells for the first time and get a chance to get a source of them. She actually mentioned it in last session when she said that Bible's going to become important. Yeah, she's exactly right. The Bible's essentially a grimoire.
The one I stole.
All right?
That's what I figured it was.
That's why all those dots and colored things were on there. And in case you don't know, that's actually a little bit of folklore. That's actually what old Southern root doctors and stuff used to do to hide what they were doing. They would take the family Bible and make certain notes in the Bible. So, okay. So, that being said, we're about 5 minutes into recording. We're going to go ahead and get started. It is the Friday before you're going to be at Snakebite. And since it's been almost a week, I'm going to say the End Times has dispatched researchers to research other facts. I'm going to give you guys some facts that in the week these other researchers for the Times have acquired while you've been recovering. That seems fair. One of them is that the car for the reporter team has been found. It's been found in a chop shop in Tennessee. It is on the way back, leading the researcher to believe that whoever brought it to the chop shop probably came from Snakebite. I mean, you can see where you come off I-92, where it just completely goes right into this Tennessee town where the chop shop is. The guy who owns the chop shop has been bribed to give you guys information when you go to interview him later today, provided you do not report him to the police. And there's been a significant cash exchange there to make that happen. Now, by the way, just so you all know, that cash exchange also means that we cannot legally report it in the paper either. Because once you exchange cash for a story, not only do you break certain journalistic ethics, in some states you break certain slander and libel laws. So whatever information you get from him cannot see print.
But at least we give us lead.
But you get information, you get leads, right. And that is sometimes how that goes, or the reporters will not admit to it.
Of course not, because every reporter is an ethical reporter.
They used to be called muckrakers for a reason. In addition to the chop
They were
shop,
effective.
Snakebite has had 2 suicides since you guys have been away. One of them is actually somebody you interviewed.
Who is it?
The what happened to the board?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Here we are.
Prop it up.
The lady that was the wife of the guy who'd been institutionalized,
I told you. Prop it up.
she committed suicide.
Oh,
What's your face?
Drank herself to death, took a bunch of pills.
the well-off,
Miss,
the wealthy
what's her
woman.
last name? Miss Ezekiel.
Miss
Yeah.
Ezekiel, okay.
The other one was a congregant in St. Luke's who kept screaming, "I have to shut him up, I have to shut him up, it's not going to end. I'm damned anyway, why wait?" and blew his head off with a shotgun.
Mm.
There have been a lot of fistfights there since you've, there's been a lot of fistfights there since you were there last. And tensions are very high. Strangely, no one's talking about what happened at Kelly's.
Hmm.
No one wants to publicly admit what they saw.
Of course not.
Part of that is that people aren't sure what they saw.
Yeah.
And some people are just convinced, yeah, you were drinking, you're a bunch of hillbillies, yada yada. Let's see, was there anything else? Oh, Jane Lee, the little Asian girl, the one that was very animated, they had to keep telling me to stop and take a breath when she was talking to you. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
She's actually called the hospital incessantly trying to check up on you while making sure you're okay. Needless to say, this girl has a heart that's like 4 times too big for her chest. So that's where we're starting. What do y'all do? Oh, no, I'm sorry, I forgot. I have to do a couple of things. While you're all recovering, Colo, during the week you have a very disturbing nighttime experience. You dream about being a boy back by the Brujo, and the Brujo summoning up the dead.
Ugh.
And as he was summoning up the dead to talk to them, you remember hearing something in the background. As the dead were trying to come through, you remember hearing something that made a guttural sound that sounds something like almost like it's a giant frog or some kind of phlegmy throat trying to come through.
Okay.
And at one point during the terrible nightmare, you think you hear this thing say your name.
Ugh.
You have a PTSD experience during the week, Rachel.
Mm.
You remember
No,
being...
after seeing what I saw, no. Couldn't
No,
possibly
not at
happen.
all. The two experiences merge. You picture back to a moment in Iraq where you were taking care of someone who had already been wounded, and suddenly a couple of bullets started landing near you, and you hear people screaming. And a couple of the Iraqi Defense Force, from what I understand, and this is going to sound prejudicial, but this is what I hear from people that have been in the field, uncharacteristically did their job and got between you and the guy who's firing, so you could work on the person you were working on. And they died because you felt you took too long to fix this person and get them out of the line of fire. And as they're dying, you see them looking at you and they're saying something in Arabic, and although your character doesn't speak Arabic, in the dream you perfectly understand it, they're blaming you for being too slow. You took too long, you bloody bitch, we're dead because of you, that kind of thing. May Allah curse you forever, blah, blah, blah. And then as they're dying, you see behind them the shadow things that ripped Darrow apart, animating their mouths almost like a puppet. You actually see one's hand inside one of the dead guy's lips doing this, making his lips move.
Actually, that's informative.
You are so in and out because of the drugs and the experimental drug they gave you. You don't have any of these experiences. You are having cravings this week just with raw meat. Every time you're near raw meat, you smell it and you feel yourself salivating, right? You actually have to stop yourself a couple times from raiding the hospital pantry, sneaking down and go gritting the meat and eating it raw. Just
I imagine she's probably ordering a lot of raw steaks.
But after 4 days,
rare steaks.
but after 4 days, the urges pass and you are like completely filled. The doctors can't believe it. They're like, how the hell? Because like they're deciding like how your artery was ripped open, how this is going, and you got very severe scars there, right? I mean, someone looking at you could tell you got multiple, think like it was a lion or something like that because of the way the bites look. And you don't lose any attractiveness or anything. You're actually kind of weirdly proud of the scar. Okay.
I bet you she's having to shave with a men's razor right now, though.
No. No. It's not. I know you made the joke about werewolfism, but it's not werewolfism. Okay. All right. So
Legalism.
you guys are dismissed from the hospital. You come out. There's a new news van waiting for you, and by the news van, there's a guy who you've seen around the end times, who you know everybody calls Geordi. People sometimes joke and make Star Trek jokes in front of him because, in addition to be called Geordi,
He's black.
although he spells it Jordy, he actually is a black man. So the Star Trek LeVar Burton jokes get made a lot. He's also kind of known for like being like a craftsman engineer type person, so that doesn't help. He's about 6'4", looks like he could bench 200 to 300 pounds.
So I'm not going to make any Geordie jokes around him.
And you recognize that he's, because of his carriage or anything, he's some kind of former special operator, right? You've always kind of wondered what he was doing working for the paper. Of course, now you know. And he sees you all, he's like, hi, I've got hardware for you and battle rattle in the van.
Okay.
You step into the van. In addition to the items you had from the last session I outlined about the pistols with 100 rounds of ammunition and the 10 special occult grenades each.
And
In addition, as I said, the pistols, the 100 rounds of ammunition, all the weapons, the 100 rounds of ammunition. You wanted your shotgun, and the 10 special occult grenades plus little lantern icons. He has put in some other additional gear, such as adrenaline shots, emergency med kits, fast patches, all things you would need for like a combat medic. He's also got some gear in there like, how do I put it? He's got, for each of the 100 rounds, 20 of them are high velocity AP rounds. Basically to help design to go through body armor, and he's like, oh, these are actually rated for body armor against this thing, whatever it is. If it's got a thick hide, this is probably what we need to use. Don't ask me where I got them from. They're highly illegal. Don't get caught with them.
It depends on what state you're in.
And then the big one is he holds behind a panel and he goes, and it's been my experience that sometimes you have to go old school. And he opens up a side panel and you see an actual, honest to God, flamethrower with the backpack hidden in a recess in the van. And around it, he's like put extra armor so that like should you all have a gunfight again on the road, some bullets are going to push this thing and detonate the tank. And he goes, unlike World War II flamethrowers, I made sure to load this one with my own personal research into Napatha. Anybody know what Napatha is?
No.
Greek fire. Primitive napalm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, well. That's actually one of the few things we've actually ever improved upon. Napalm actually is cool.
He closes the alcove and he says to you, when all else fails, kill it with fire.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's true.
All right. I would like to go with you, but unfortunately, in addition to all this, I'm also Mr. Rhymes' PPO, Personal Protection Officer. So I kind of have to go with him right now. I'm on duty for the next month for him. Good luck. Don't get shot. Don't get killed.
Don't get eaten.
Now, were you a Marine or were you Army?
Army.
Oh, you're Army. Okay. As he leaves, he says, "Hooah."
Well.
Well,
So I take it my EMS kit got left behind in town or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's why he had to fully restock your man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about the stress of the situation. We just dove in that car. We went straight to the hospital.
Yeah, I understand that. I was just making sure I remember things correctly.
Okay.
I didn't know if I'd written it off my list or not, and I hadn't. So.
John Marco comes down. Sure enough, John Marco did break a rib.
Yeah, figured as much.
So he's wincing a little bit. He's like, I don't know what that stuff was that he gave me. He gave me some kind of weird power stuff. But that lantern keeper guy, he's got medicinal alcoves and stuff that like defy modern medicine. They x-rayed me and my rib is healed. I mean, you can still see where the fracture was, but a broken rib should take about 6 to 8 weeks to heal.
Oh
Easily.
yeah, like
It's
check
actually
it
one
out.
of the
See how
slower
good
things
this
to heal.
looks?
This thing healed in 2 days.
It's one of the slower things to heal. Okay. So we have moderate armor as well, if I remember correctly.
Right, moderate armor. So when you're now how armor works in the game system is if you're hit by an attack, the armor can stop. Not only do you get your constitution as an RV against the attack type, but you get your armor against the RV as the attack type too. If you're hit by a type of attack the armor cannot stop, then you only get the armor RV.
Okay.
So an example of this, and I did this for the medieval setting, is like let's say someone hit you with a big axe. You're wearing light armor. That axe is going to go right through that armor, so you don't get your con bonus, you just get the armor. Which is like 1 or 2 points off the column he's going to roll. But if you have a very high constitution and you're armored, it is very hard to hurt you in this system. All right, because it reduces the column they roll on. Most weapons are like about an 8. Sorry, the big ones are like an 8 to a 9. If you're wearing moderate armor and have like a 4 or 5 constitution, they're rolling back in column 1. So it becomes very hard to actually hurt you, and the guns do health point damage to you instead of wounds. And that was to reflect the sword and sorcery environment, and I think it'll work okay for this. So it is that Friday morning. You all have been dismissed from the hospital. You have your tech toys. You have all your headlights with the special light bulbs on them that should hurt these guys. What do you do?
Okay.
Where did we last leave off with our investigation?
Darrow had just gotten ripped apart in front of you, and you were talking to her daughters. You had spoken to her about what she was doing with the town clinician, and she said that they thought there was something in the water from the coal mine. Because they had noticed there was more signs of mania, is what they called it. You had people having wild mood swings. Either they were incredibly depressed or they were incredibly active. And the conjunction between both of them was there was something in the runoff from the old coal mine that had gotten into the water.
Makes me wonder if that's where the things are coming from, too.
Because this happened like in full view of a lot of people of the town.
Yeah. But
Yes.
Remember what I said earlier?
But it also happened in the middle of the night
Around a lot of drunk people.
about a lot of drunk people in an area where there's not really good light.
Also,
The only evidence you really have is the torn apart body.
Also remember as well, everybody may think they know what they saw, and I'm pretty convinced yes, something really weird happened. But nobody's going to talk about it because they're going to think everybody else is going to call them nuts.
I should get to the official investigation. The sheriff is officially reporting it as a vehicle hit and run.
Are the wounds consistent with just the
If you got hit by a car going fast enough, remember I said there's people.
manually up like that?
Remember I said
Oh,
there
yeah.
are people that drive down this road at like 60 to 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could get torn apart like that.
Oh yeah,
In the
my
middle-
mother's
in the middle of the
mentioned it.
bar?
Oh,
The theory would be she got hit along the side of the road and the body flew. In real life, I've seen not quite that, but I remember in real life when I went to see a friend in North Carolina, I saw a woman get hit by a bus.
yeah, it was pretty gruesome.
Bus was only going like 10 miles an hour. Right? It was pulling into a station. She stepped out in front of it, didn't see it. Driver didn't see her. He hits her, and she bends over backwards like a toothpick. Hits the ground, bounces off the ground, everything just busts. And I was like,
My mom said she's seen people hit by cars that look like they basically got exploded like balloons.
yeah.
We're talking about Daryl here, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, we need stats for weapons.
But she did get. But she initially got imploded when she was in the
So
bar, right?
the shotgun, if you look on your cheat sheet and your folio, I believe the shotgun is a 6x3 weapon, which means we roll 3 tests in column 6.
Okay, what's the armor value or AV?
Hold on. Explosives. I'm sorry. Standard shotgun is a 5x2. So we rolled 2 tests.
That's the AV.
The AV is 5. It's a 5 AV, but they make 2 tests. The advantage of having shotguns is +1 to hit at close range. So anything within 50 feet? I'm sorry. I rate it as 200 feet. I need to go back and revise that because about 100 feet out is when it starts to lose some of its accuracy.
It depends on the shotgun shell.
Now, just so you know, there is a heavy shotgun that does 6x2, and that would be something like a Spaz.
And it's the same ammunition either way. It's 12 gauge.
Okay, well then it's 6x2 for you.
Okay.
So it's AB6 to make 2 tests.
It's the ammunition that makes the difference as far as what's in the shell. If it's buckshot, for example.
Well, when I rated him as shotguns, I rated him as like light shotgun and heavy. And I was basically thinking rather than get into the gauges,
Yeah.
like a 10 gauge would be like a standard shotgun.
Yeah.
A 12 would be a heavy. Maybe a 12 loaded with buck is a
Actually, the
is a
10's heavier
standard.
than a 12. The lower the gauge, the wider the barrel.
But the higher the gauge, the wider the barrel. Because an 8's pretty small.
Actually, it depends. The gauges actually runs the other way. 12,
Okay.
10, 8, 6 is
My mistake.
actually
I'm
bigger
misremembering
gauges.
that. But you
20
get
gauges wider.
the point. I didn't want to delve into all the
Yeah.
fine things of ballistics.
Oh, I
don't wanna
agree
do
with you
John
there. I'm
Wick.
just letting you know that.
So we'll go ahead and call it a heavy shotgun. We'll
Okay.
call it a 6x2 weapon.
Okay. Now, I did request iron and copper.
Yes.
And
Yes, you requested various loads. I'm going to say basically what they did is they evenly divided it so you have 33 rounds of each
okay.
with an extra round of the standard iron shot. Sorry, I should say the standard lead.
Actually, it's
So you've
iron
got-
now. Hadn't made lead shots since the 80s.
Really?
Yeah, because of environmental concerns.
Really?
Yeah, almost all shotgun shells are either tungsten or iron.
Okay. That's
That's the reason I requested the copper,
okay.
because that would not be a standard round.
Okay. So you've got 33 copper, then 33 standard, and what was the other type one you
Tungsten.
wanted? Tungsten, and then 33 of the tungsten.
Because we don't know what's going to hurt this thing.
Now, on a side note, I was hearing somebody say that tungsten rounds actually are slightly better against body armor than standard rounds.
Yeah, because it's dense. It's the stuff they use for anti-tank rounds.
Okay. So when you're using the tungsten, let me know because I'll have a higher AP.
Okay.
Well, they actually
then-
do have a pretty good notion of what can hurt these things.
Then the weapons.
Well, the thing is we won't know for sure until we start actually shooting at these things what we will and will not kill.
Then the weapons are all going to be rated as standard auto pistols,
Mm-hmm.
which have an AV of 6.
Okay.
Because pretty much everybody was using things like 9s and 10s and that caliber weaponry, right? From what I heard.
Yeah, pretty much everybody's using 9
Nobody's
millimeters.
using like a 45 or a 44.
40 for automatics in 2010, because I'm a bit of a gun nut here. Yeah, basically at that point in time, it was 9mm was common round. 40 caliber Smith & Wesson was just starting to really break out as the next big round, and 10mm
Right.
more or less died.
But I'm asking what kind of weapons that everybody's carrying. From my stand, 10 millimeter, although it's still popular with the federal agencies, is not very popular with the public, which
Hasn't been since the 90s.
still to this day doesn't fathom me because I saw the ballistics 10 millimeter is actually a pretty good round.
Yeah, but it also has a hell of a lot of recoil, which a lot of civilians don't like.
Okay. So everybody's basically carrying like this 9mm standard kind of light round.
Unless they request something different, that's
Okay.
probably what they would provide.
So those are going to be AV6 weapons, which is still a pretty good column for rolling to produce a wound on.
Yeah. What's the ammo? I guess is all copper jacketed.
Well, you would ask for nothing but copper jacketed for the pistols, from what I understand. Nobody asked for like any hollow points or dum-dums or anything like that.
Well, yeah, because not only that, but if you start using hollow points and dum-dums, it's not going to make us popular with the locals if we start shooting at people with them.
Right. Okay. So, that all bookkeeping being done, now what are you guys going to do?
Okay.
Oh, on the way out of town, I'm going to buy a combat knife.
That would have been provided. I don't mind you having a combat knife for emergency gear like that.
Sorry, I was trying to clean something up.
Not a problem. They were just doing some bookkeeping on what kind of weapons they were carrying, and we can give you that information when you need it. Because you had
Okay.
2 pistols, 100 rounds each.
2 pistols, yeah.
I remember that. That's the advantage of recording the sessions, is I can remember what players said. Why more GMs don't do that, I have no idea.
Mm.
All right.
I was going to suggest to the group while we're experimenting with certain types of weapons that might actually hurt and or kill these things, we also seek to explore this other avenue of being able to keep them at bay through certain chemically powered lights that we noticed. So I would try to get.
Well, remember, you all have headlamps, flashlights, and on the pistols. Would you want one on the shotgun?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
And you also have a light underslung on all the pistols that has the same chemical composition.
Oh,
You
good.
know what
Okay.
would be interesting? Because I actually saw, I don't know if they would have this back at that
And of course, all the cameras have it.
I don't know if they would have had this back at that point or not, but I saw there's like these little they're basically these light vests that you can put on, and they're not like a reflective type thing. They actually have lights, and like it's like a whole long tube, and it's like a bright light that people use for running.
You want to try to put the chemical compound into there?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if that would be a feasible thing, because that would be a really good way to have protection all around without having to worry about.
Part of the chemicals that make this happen are some of the things in the camera lens that can easily be put onto the other lights that you're working with.
Okay.
They can certainly attempt it, but I'm going to rule that such a thing would take probably a good deal of tinkering to get right. And I'm going to say they're currently in development.
Okay.
If what I'll do is I'll roll every day to see if the prototype has been completed. If it is, I'll have someone from the End Times run it into you from Tennessee.
Okay.
That is a good idea, though. In fact, that's such a good idea.
Oh.
That I did not expect. Take a draw. No, I'm serious. I didn't think of that. That's a really good idea.
I'm not even sure if theoretically it can be done, but yeah.
That'd be my concern too, because part of it is they're convinced that it's the way the lens reflects the light that's in the halogen bulb.
It's also the chemicals used in the halogen bulb.
Right, so I'm not sure you could actually put that on a vest safely, but they're going to take with it and try to get it to work.
It's also a matter of the...
We do have weird science. Weird science can bend the rules of physics.
I'm letting you know, for the point of for the purpose of weird science, the chemicals create the light they do because of the heat.
Right.
So if you could find a way to get around that limitation through weird science.
All right. So we're now like almost 20 minutes and I still haven't heard what you're doing when you're released from the hospital.
Like I said, I was going for a combat knife, but you already
That
shot
would be
down on
that would be provided. If you want a combat knife or like some basic gear, I can see them providing that for you. You do have a corporation that backs you.
Yeah, small one, but it's there.
Okay.
Reviewing all the research. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again,
review the research.
So- Bible.
So again, the research only comes through with the car was found in a chop shop in Tennessee. The guy that runs the chop shop is guaranteed to keep quiet but talk to you. And the suicides that have happened, as well as the increased violence and snake bites since you've been away.
Well, we're also talking about going over the research we've done among ourselves.
You find
reviewing it.
You find no new clues in your research.
Tapes.
You're pretty convinced that's going. Okay, her tapes. You would have time to listen to Emma Noor's audio record. In addition to all the interviews and stuff she talks about day 4 or 5 that she's there, she starts referencing how she is having the occasional stray thought about things she's done in her past that she's been unmindful. Does everybody know what the term unmindful means in a Muslim view?
Not
In
religious.
a Muslim mood now.
It's basically their version of sin. All right, and in the strict Sunnah way of looking at the Quran, all human beings essentially already know what's right. So when you commit wrong, you're forgetting. You're being unmindful. Now, originally this was meant to be very liberating. Things that kind of downplayed how severe sin was. But then it kind of went woo-koo, because if you're the one forgetting, that means all the onus is always on you for every single little thing you ever do wrong. And ended up leading to a kind of theology where they believe that basically you're never sure if you're going to paradise or not unless you do some very extreme things. So most believing Muslims, particularly as I've been reading who are Sunnis, have this subconscious fear that they're always going to hell. All right? So she starts talking about little things she's done that start to worry her, like she remembers once where she was really irate with her brother and like tricked him into doing something, got him in trouble, and never admitted to it. She talks about how sometimes when she's been writing, she wonders if maybe she's gone too far and vilified people or slandered them when they didn't deserve it. You start hearing a lot of self-doubt. And because of your experience with these beings, you're starting to see the effects of them upon her mind and her recordings. Okay? By the time you get to day 7, the day before she disappears, it is very easy to see that every single doubt she's ever had that starts coming through in the recordings is from these things.
Again, we have the pattern of these monsters feeding on these susceptible, weak minds.
Would I be able to roll now, or at least figure out that some of my PTSD is being caused by those things when I'm in town?
I think at this point, because of all the evidence, you don't need to roll. I think that's going to be a whole idea of, wow, all that stuff we heard and experienced that was wonky was not us. Yeah. And as far as, well, I won't give you the name of the critter yet because we haven't done that much research. But you guys are coming very, very close to finding out just about everything about this creature.
And now I'm worried about the daughter, Ms. Darrow's daughter. And,
Oh God, yeah.
and the other families,
What happened to that
because
poor
they're still
kid?
working on these things. They're still in there vulnerable.
The information you had during the week you were away has no information about.
Remember,
Anna
she was
Louise, right?
also,
I think it was Anna Louise. Yeah, let me just double check my character cards
She was
here.
actually talking to her mother when it happened.
yeah. And also, actually no, she was out serving a team. She was talking,
Anna
Bill was
Louise.
talking to us.
No, Emma was out serving tables. Anna Louise, however, at
Was
the
in
end of
our
this
table.
center ran up and was like right by the body and had this weird neurotic psychological reaction where she actually was like a little kid trying to put the body back together, hoping it would make everything work.
Yeah, that
She
that
really-
actually happens.
She really freaked out.
That actually happens. I've seen that happen in an auto accident. So yeah, where a husband was trying to actually pull his wife's belly back together. Anyhow, on that wonderful note, my character by this point she is Rachel is starting to get concerned about the people they left behind in town because well she's an EMT and that's how she thinks.
Do you want to give some phone calls?
Yeah, I'm gonna start making some phone calls to Anna Louise.
So in your research, you would have phone numbers of all the people you spoke to and all the other contact information. You called Darrow first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She'd be the most.
It rings
traumatized.
3 times, and then you hear it. You hear the phone raise, and the first thing out of the girl's mouth, and you know it's her, is this hoarse whisper of, "My mom was not a witch. Fuck you! Stop calling!" Click, and she slams the phone down.
Oh yeah, she's been getting a lot of shit
Mm-hmm.
from the locals.
I will call again. Dial again immediately.
Make a fate check.
Okay. Oh shoot, I didn't get the dice out.
My bad. No problem. Making a fate check to see if she'll actually pick up and listen to you. Is that a 19 there?
Yeah.
Roll a d6. So 23. What's your fate? Is it 3? FTE.
2.
2? Well, you only call him 2. That's still a heroic success. She picks up the phone, and you just hear silence for a moment, like she sees what's going to come out.
Anna Louise, this is Rachel.
Oh, thank God. Are you okay? I remember you. I remember you tried to help in the car. Is anyone else dead?
No, no one else is dead. And I got what killed your mother.
They won't stop. They won't stop calling. They won't stop hurting me. They faked the house. They've painted things. Everyone thinks that somehow my mom brought it on herself. The fuckers! I fucking hate them all. I wish they would just die.
No, don't say that word. Don't say the wish word.
I can't leave
Got
the
the
house.
reference.
I can't leave the house.
Okay, calm down, darling. Listen, I'm coming back to town. Along with my friends. We're going to try and get to the bottom of this. Your mom did not do anything wrong.
Bring
Okay.
salt. Bring lots of salt. I need salt. Fucking tons of salt.
Okay.
It's gotta be kosher salt. Do you understand the difference? It's gotta be fucking kosher salt.
Kosher salt is coming.
She's losing it.
Okay, listen. What's the Asian girl's name?
Jane.
Can you get Jane over to your place?
I think so.
Because you shouldn't be alone right now. Get her over to your place and have her stay there till we get there.
Okay. I'll call Janie.
Okay, do that. Just her, mind you.
Hurry up.
We're coming. Hey, yeah, and now definitely fire's been under my ass. Next thing I'm going to do, after I get off the phone, is immediately head to the nearest store and buy all the fucking kosher salt I can.
How much of our operating budget would you like to spend?
I'm just pretty much going to sweep the shelf.
So you roll up to the counter with this carton full of nothing but kosher salt, right?
Mhm.
And the woman behind the counter looks at you, looks
Don't
at the
ask.
salt, looks at you, and says, "Lady, that's a hell of a lot of ice cream." You managed to, she thinks that you're making homemade ice cream with the salt.
It's a big party.
Must be.
I'm not even going to try to bullshit my way past that one.
While she's making the phone calls and stuff, what is Colo doing?
Um,
Oh, come on. I know I have more dice sixes than that.
You don't need more than that, Matt. That's fine. I designed the system to use few dice.
I'm very interested in what the Bible has to reveal.
You don't have access to
You
it.
don't have access
It's still
to
at her
it,
house.
So that's
Yeah.
That Dara's
We have to get to it.
It's at Darrow's house.
what?
Remember I said it was this big, huge Bible on a special stand because it's made out of wood and has vellum pages?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, my character took a few pictures of the inside of the Bible, but
Well, why don't the occultists both give me an occult roll and their intelligence to try to decode what those symbols and the few pages you have mean.
Oh, that's right. We got a roll.
9. Wait,
On column,
on column 10, where's my thing?
that's a success.
Oh,
That was a 21.
Yep.
What you column?
5.
It's got to be higher than 5. It's one of your tag skills. Your intelligence plus your occult.
Oh, plus a cold. Oh
Yeah.
your occult skill should be
It's over
over
here.
here, but it's not.
No, it's on here.
It's at least a
Okay.
plus 3 because
Oh,
that's what
okay.
you start with.
Plus 3. Yeah. So 8.
On column 8,
What's it doing down there?
you have a dramatic.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is your skill.
So here's what you guys find. As you're looking through the code, you now, because of his dramatic success, can fully dismantle the code.
Okay.
So when you find the Bible, you'll be able to both read it. The pages you have photocopied list what are considered the quote-unquote starting spells for the game setting. And they are as follows. You might want to write this on a blank part of your character sheet. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pull it up on the tabby. Actually, yeah, pull it up on the tabby. I haven't made a cult powers page yet. It's just right on a blank spot on the back. I'm still going back and forth with myself about how to do that. Red ink. Ink RPG, and where is the magic system? Just cheat. Magic for red ink.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Give me a second, it's got to load the page.
Still not dealing well with the whole firecracker thing, huh?
Oh, she never will. That and thunder are her too big. Scare me.
Yeah, maybe there's thunder coming today, so.
Okay, so the following spells are what's in this book on these pages that you have. Banish. AV4. Mana cost 5. Range of 50 feet. AoE 10 feet. Means area of effect.
What are the distances again for both?
Range is up to 50 feet. AoE is 10 feet. Uses the sorcery skill. Next one. Bind.
That's the ticket. Bye.
AV4. Mana cost 10. Range is 25 feet. AoE is 1 being. Uses the ritual skill.
AoE is 1 what?
1 being. Duration is 1d3 weeks per DOS.
Say what?
Yeah, 1 being.
1 being. In other words, you combined 1 being with this spell. The duration is 1d3 weeks per DOS.
1d3
Weeks per DOS. Okay. Now, it should be noted that if you have specifics about the creature, you can then make a second bind spell specifically for that creature and the AV of the spell goes up. Okay? The difference between a ritual and a sorcery is that sorcery can happen in combat. Ritual takes time. Typical ritual, if I remember quickly, I said takes 10 minutes. You would have the Bless spell in there, which is AV2. The mana cost is 4 plus 2 per recipient. So to put it on one person would be 6, to put it on 2 people would be 8, etc., etc. Range is 25 feet. And that lasts 1d3 hours per DOS. And she'd probably also have Ward. Yeah. Ward, W-A-R-D. AV of 4. Mana cost of 5. Uses the ritual skill.
What does Bless use?
Oh, good point. Bless should be a sorcery if I remember correctly. Let me double check. Bless is a sorcery. The AoE of Ward is a 50-foot diameter sphere or one building. And it centers on the caster. And that one lasts 1d6 hours plus 1 hour per DOS.
1d6 DOS.
Now, this may not seem like a lot, but keep in mind that in this low magic setting, there's a lot you can do with what I just gave you. And it's all preventative stuff, you'll notice. One of the things about Southern Hoodoo is that it's very preventative in nature. All right, it's what, for lack of a better term, people call white magic. You don't see a lot of curses, you don't see a lot of things, although Darrow did admit that she did delve into what's called black magic once to hotfoot her husband out of town. But even that's pretty benign. That's not hurting him, that's just making him go away. The references and the props of the spells are all couched in Christian terms. For instance, like Bless calls on God to, bless his faithful servants, blah, 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 quoting things from the Psalms and from the Bible. The Ward spell actually quotes various things from Jesus casting out demons. Same thing with Bind. The I forget what other one I put on there. So I gave you Bless, Bind,
Banish, Bless,
Banish.
Bind,
The
Ward.
Banish one actually talks about the apostles. And it mentions specifically not Paul. Yeah, it mentions specifically the Apostle Paul and the Archangel Michael. And for those who are unaware, that actually is a feature of Southern Hoodoo and to a degree Powwow, which is the Germanic version. All right, so looks like all your preliminaries are done. It's only taken us 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, these things take time sometimes.
And what do y'all want to do after that?
Well, I'm going to make sure I do call everybody we interviewed.
Okay.
Okay.
So the only one that's really freaking out is Anna Louise. Everyone else is just like, glad to hear your voice. How are you doing? Is everyone recovering well? Everyone else seems pretty okay. Obviously, Miss Ezekiel doesn't answer the phone.
Well,
Now
yeah,
she's
well,
dead.
I already know that. Would have called her because of that.
Now, it occurs to you, since you do have to travel back in, you could also, in addition to stop and talk to the chop shop guy,
Mm-hmm.
you stop and talk to Mr. Ezekiel, who's in the loony bin, which is not that far away.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to go to first?
Which one's closer?
The loony bin, actually.
Let's do the
Let's go to Arkham.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go to Arkham Asylum.
You end up going to this place called Franklin Mental Health Services. And as you walk up to the stereotypical white-walled, bland, sterile environment kind of medical facility, you see behind the desk the nurses here aren't dressed in like hospital whites. Instead, they're dressed in these nice soft pinks and stuff to kind of like encourage people to be more calm.
Mm-hmm.
The nurse looks up to you from the desk. She's like, "Hi, hon. How can I help you?"
Shit. God, what is his first name?
Who?
It's Hira.
Mr. Ezekiel.
Hear him.
Hira.
Here.
Here, thank you, because I totally forgot.
No problem.
Okay. Well,
It's just
you're the leader.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about it. I think you just waltz into a mental institution and request to talk
Yeah,
to
you can see a
someone.
patient.
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, unless they're under sedation or guard.
Or they got, or they're limited in who they can and cannot see.
Well, I
Right.
obviously, because we're strangers. He doesn't know us, but.
Yeah, but why? They don't know that.
Is it?
Because you got to bullshit. Or as reporters call it, get creative with the truth.
Yeah, my only concern there would be when they'd say to him,
Actually, Lexington
"Hey,
would be
so
a
and
little
so's here to
closer
see
that.
you." He'll be like, "Who?" But anyway, that all aside, well, that's weird. I'm really gonna have to switch mental gears about how to just walk.
So can I make a recommendation?
Yeah.
Ask for his doctor first.
Yeah, try the
Can
front
we
door.
see the attending physician for Hiram Ezekiel?
Yeah, try the front door before you have to go through the back door
Okay.
or side window.
Is the physician?
The other thing the party could do is they can only send in like part of the party. That way if something goes wrong, the other part of the party who the staff doesn't know can try to see him by a different method.
Okay.
That'll work.
So could send.
So who wants to go in first? Colo and...
What would be is in this town? Is it a good idea for me to go in first? Considering how I look.
This is a major city in Tennessee.
Oh, that's right. We
You're
okay.
not in the mountains right now.
Okay. So I'll go in and I'll walk up to the desk and I.
All right. So who's going in with Colo?
I would say let's send in our favorite soccer player
Okay.
because he can charm the.
There we go.
John Marco goes in there as well.
Yeah.
That leaves the two girls out in the van.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look at John Marco and say, I think it would be best if you do the talking here.
Well, this is true, but at the same time, I do believe that
This
Age
is
of
perhaps this might be a better thing for you because although I am good with women, you seem to have a bit of formality and seniority, and you're also the PC, so I'm not going to let you off the hook. And just to punish you for that, the GM's taking a chip.
I mean, you got to use your resources correctly.
Nice try.
He's delegating.
John Marco is amusing, and John Marco will give the players help and stuff, but he is a mask. He is meant to be in the background. That's why I made him the cameraman.
I just want you to know, John
Oh.
Marco, this is a gross misallocation of resources. Okay.
Think of it, senor, as you practicing your savoir-faire.
Your tabletop RPGing savoir-faire. Good afternoon. My name is Colin Insane. Is it possible to see the attending physician on Mr. Hiram? Oh,
Hiram Ezekiel, yeah, you got it right.
Mr. Hiram Ezekiel.
Just a moment. She checks the itinerary. Dr. Johnson is currently seeing a patient in therapy, but he'll be out of his therapy group in about 15 minutes if you'd like to wait.
That would be fine, thank you.
So she points over to an area in the lobby, and you see her eyes straight at John Marco, longingly.
Mm.
He winks at her. She looks down and kind of blushes.
So do I.
Leaving you sitting in the lobby for about 15 minutes. What do you do during that 15 minutes?
Just go over our notes.
Okay. You go over your notes. John Marco makes it a point to analyze the room. John Marco's going to make a perception and awareness, and you're going your notes are going to make an intelligence and research.
Five.
Oh, there it goes.
Man, so far rolling high.
John Marco takes out his phone. He starts texting. Rachel and Ariane, your cell phones suddenly get a text.
Okay. What does it say?
From John Marco. Hey, the guy that beat up Colo back in New York, what did he look like?
That's a good question because I forget.
But your characters do remember the conversation, so roll an intelligence and see if you remember the details.
By the way, I rolled a
I
20.
have it written down.
I rolled a
somewhere.
23.
Okay, but you're researching your notes.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
From researching your notes again, you realize, yes, the timeline of events when the SIDS and the rates of disappearance disappeared in Snakebite do coincide when Emma Jean did show up in town. It is probably more than a guess to assume she was doing something. She probably was responsible for keeping all the evil stuff at bay. And it occurs to your character, if I can trace what she did on a daily basis, maybe I can find some charm, some talisman, some circle, something she was using to keep this stuff at bay that she's put somewhere in the area. You think back how, like, your Brujo would go around to certain parts of the village and he would, like, sprinkle blood or do some kind of sage or the equivalent of an incense to keep the spirits at bay. Maybe she was doing a similar thing.
Okay.
Dramatic success.
Oblivious.
You remember it was a white Caucasian male, athletic build, blonde hair.
Okay, I text that back.
Marco says, well, that stunningly sounds like myself, but I think he may be here in the lobby. We can't do anything because we're sitting, again, this is John Marco talking by text. We can't do anything because we're sitting here patiently waiting to see Hiram, but I think the guy's here. I'm going to let Kolo go in, I'm going to tail the guy.
I'm gonna meet you inside.
Bad idea. If it goes wrong, we need the girls to come in after us. But let's do this. Why don't you watch the parking lot and see if this guy is alone? See if it looks like there's anyone loitering.
Good idea.
I will look.
Do you tell Ariadne?
Yeah.
Okay. You both need to make perceptions and awareness for me?
Oops, I'm covering up my shit.
Oh, fine. 19. What's my awareness again? I need to get this exercise. I got a dramatic success.
Ooh, nicely done.
I rolled a
I got a
19.
heroic success.
Okay, so I'll start with the heroic first. You spot an old, beat-up Ford. Pretty common to the area, right? And sitting in the car is a guy smoking, and he's been there, you realize, longer than you have, just sitting there smoking. And at first it doesn't look too weird, except that you notice that the truck is beat up, his clothes are a little rough, but the way he's smoking communicates someone who's not just chain smoking or power smoking. It confers a certain kind of refinement. Right? There's something about the hand gestures that makes you clue in that
Oh yeah.
that's not normal. Right?
Yeah.
And you can sense he's casing the parking lot. Now, you had a dramatic, right?
Yep.
You all only saw him for a second, but you realize it's the same guy that passed the van right before the attack. He's dressed different, his hair is different, but it's the same guy.
I will text that.
I remember him.
I'm going to pause that so I can start the next hour of the recording.